Vielen Dank, Zhou.
Our keynotes, and I'm very excited about the first keynote, the future of high-speed transportation, which will be held by the Senior Director of Global Alliances and Policy at Virgin Hyperloop. Please welcome the wonderful Diana Zhou.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here today at the first Hyperloop Conference in the world. Before I get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Martin Forlick. I remember when Martin and I first started talking about this over a year ago. It was right in the middle of the pandemic. And he started talking about wanting to create a Hyperloop conference, a traveling Hyperloop conference. I was so excited because this was the first time I had heard anything like this. And because we were in the middle of the pandemic, it was really hard to know what was going to happen. And there were a lot of difficulties, a lot of hardships along the way. And certainly it was extremely challenging pulling this together. But finally, we are here over a year later, and we are so excited to be here as part of Virgin Hyperloop One. And we are just thrilled that this is happening. And thank you all for joining us today. My name is Diana Zhou. I am our Senior Director of Global Business Development from Virgin Hyperloop. Let me start by painting a picture for why I believe Hyperloop is important to the world today. I believe that the industry needs to adapt and evolve to meet sustainability goals. We already heard some of the opening words from the ministry and also from Keir Fitch from DG Move. We know that transport is one of the largest contributors of greenhouse gas emissions in Europe, and it represents over 29% of all emissions. And these statistics are no different in the US and in other places around the world. More than 50% of this comes from passenger cars and vans. And so with the rise of e-commerce and the rise of demand in logistics, how can the industry meet increasing customer demand while also decreasing carbon emissions? This seems like an impossible task. Enter Hyperloop. Hyperloop is the first mode of mass transportation in over 100 years. It's a new mode of transportation that's designed to eliminate the barriers of time and distance for both people and for freight. Hyperloop can safely carry tens of thousands of passengers per hour to their destination at speeds of greater than 1,000 kilometers an hour. And also, it can do this with no direct emissions at any time that fits their schedule. I'll talk a little bit more about what Hyperloop is in the upcoming slides. It can also achieve ambitious sustainability goals. We already heard about how Hyperloop is part of the European Union's Smart and Sustainable Mobility Plan. This is extremely important to us and to the industry. We need a new baseline for shared electric mobility to fight against climate change. Coming from California, I've already seen the devastation of things like wildfires, and that devastation is just increasing every year. If we don't do something now about it, if we continue to invest in the same technologies today as what we have done in the last century, tomorrow will look very similar to how it looks today, and that's not acceptable. Compared to short-haul flights, Hyperloop is 10 times more energy efficient. We've done some analysis on that. And in India, where we have a project connecting Mumbai to Pune, a single Hyperloop system could reduce carbon emissions by over 150,000 tons per year. That is the yearly equivalent to powering over 26,000 homes or removing 30,000 cars from the road. I mean, imagine that. In the Middle East, where we have also been talking to various government and customers, a Hyperloop system could move over 45 million passengers per year, and especially because this is the Middle East, this could be fully powered by solar. Not only can we talk about the impact of Hyperloop from a technology perspective, but it can also enable rapid social economic growth. So for example, imagine being able to travel from where we are today to Berlin in about 30 minutes, or from Frankfurt to Brussels in the same amount of time. A single Hyperloop route from Mumbai to Pune is estimated to transport 200 million passengers annually, create 1.8 million direct and indirect jobs, and over 36 billion in social economic benefits. you don't see the impact of this. You don't see these kinds of numbers anywhere. And this is extremely important for a new mode of transportation. How does this work? A lot of you may be familiar at a high level with what Hyperloop is and the technology. But let me talk a little bit about how we at Virgin Hyperloop envision the Hyperloop system. We have pods that travel in a near vacuum environment using magnetic levitation and our own electric propulsion system. You see here in this slide are a pod which can carry passengers or cargo. If it carries passengers, it can carry up to 28 passengers per pod. Cargo, it can carry palletized cargo, so the kind that you might find in the belly of an aircraft. Then we have our fuselage, which is attached to our bogie, which is the thing that you see hanging from the top of the track, and that uses our proprietary electromagnetic propulsion system to propel the pod forward. We take all of the air out of the tube so that it is in a reduced pressure environment to 1/1000th of atmosphere pressure, and all of this is controlled with our autonomous control platform. So as you can see, there's no windows on the pod, there's no driver in the pod, it's all autonomously controlled. But Hyperloop is not only different in the technology itself and what it can do, but also in how it operates. So what I mentioned earlier, our pods can fit 28 people per pods, which is much smaller than an aircraft. We use these smaller, more frequently available pods that allow people and cargo to go directly to their destination in an on-demand manner. So that means that there are no stops along the way. Every journey is made directly to your destination. Our system can also move tens of thousands of passengers per hour, which is what I mentioned earlier. This is similar to the capacity and throughput of systems like high-speed rail. And we are enabled by convoys, which basically means that our pods are virtually coupled with one another, not physically coupled. And so our pods can break away from the main line via our proprietary high-speed switching technology. And you actually see here a picture of how that switching technology works. Also, safety and comfort is extremely important to us. The enclosed Hyperloop system, because it's in a secure environment, it's in a controlled environment, which means that it's free from weather, from turbulence at grade crossings, and reduces the potential for accidents. Also, because the system is autonomously controlled, it reduces errors from human judgment. And a lot of people ask us, well, how does it feel like to go at 1,000 kilometers an hour? Well, our acceleration rates are actually very similar to those of rail. So we accelerate very, very gradually until we reach full speed. So as I mentioned, it's really exciting for me personally to be here today because over the last 5 years that I have been working at Virgin Hyperloop, I have been talking, interfacing with customers, with airport operators, with rail operators, with logistics companies, with cargo handlers, with governments, with regulators to understand how we can deploy Hyperloop in a commercial operational setting. And since 2014, a number of Hyperloop companies, especially across North America and across Europe, have been focusing on the development of this really exciting new technology for commercial use. And based on what you can see publicly, we know that there has been at least $500 million in direct investment pumped into Hyperloop companies from a strategic perspective, and then also that on top of that, additional funds have been expended on Hyperloop feasibility studies, regulatory and policy initiatives, some of which have been led by Mr. Kier Fitch over here from DG Move, as well as others around the world. So you see here a smattering of some of the companies that are involved in this space. Many of them are here with us today, and you'll hear from them over the course of the day. Virgin Hyperloop, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies are both based in the US, Transpod in Canada, HART, Novomo, Zolaris, Eurotube, the Institute of Hyperloop Technology, and SwissPod, all in Europe. And it's just been so exciting over the last really 7 years to see the growth in this industry and all the excitement and interest in Hyperloop from all over the world. I want to also just emphasize how fast all of this has happened. So in 2013, Elon Musk released his Hyperloop Alpha paper. And actually later that year and in 2014, the first Hyperloop companies were established, including my own Virgin Hyperloop. Virgin Hyperloop first opened our test site in Apex, which is outside of North Las Vegas, in 2015. We did our first subsystem tests of our propulsion open air system in 2016, and then our first full system test in 2017. So we have a 500-meter tube in the middle of the desert where we have been continuously running tests in vacuum, non-vacuum, high speed, low speed for the last 6 years, really. And in 2019, the U.S. Department of Transportation's NET Council, the Non-Traditional Emerging Transportation Technologies Council, was created by the former Secretary Zhou to evaluate Hyperloop as well as other new modes of transportation. What's been really exciting is that the U.S. has really taken an interest in this, and since then has identified a regulator for Hyperloop, the Federal Railway Administration, and also released guidance around how Hyperloop will be treated as a new mode of transportation. Similarly, in the EU, the Hyperloop Promoters Working Group was formed through DG Move and also through Shift to Rail, and a bunch of my colleagues from the Hyperloop industry as well as related industries are here today, and we've been working on a fairly regular basis since then to understand how we can progress the Hyperloop industry forward. At the end of 2020, and I'll talk a little bit more about this very exciting event, Virgin Hyperloop, we had the first people ever travel safely in Hyperloop's system. And you'll see a video about that shortly. And then earlier this year, Hyperloop was included in the EU Smart and Sustainable Mobility Strategy. And then also earlier this year in the US, we were included in the US Infrastructure Bill. So it's incredible the amount of momentum that has happened just in a very, very short time span. I mean, you don't really see governments especially moving at this kind of pace for any other kind of technology. So we are very excited and also incredibly lucky to have the partners that we have today in all different, across all different jurisdictions. A little bit about who we are as Virgin Hyperloop. Like I mentioned before, we are based in California and based in Los Angeles specifically. That's where our headquarters are. We also have a test facility in Las Vegas in the middle of the desert and a small office in Dubai. From a technology perspective, we have done over 500 tests completed at our Apex site. You see that tube right there. We have over 300 employees and over 200 patent applications and over $500 million in funding raised over the last 7 years. In November of 2020, the first passengers traveled safely on Hyperloop. This is a picture of our CEO, Josh Geigel, and my colleague, our head of passenger experience, Sarah Lukian, who were the first 2 people ever to travel safely in a Hyperloop. Now, I'm actually really delighted to announce that Sarah is actually joining me today, and she'll be hosting a masterclass later today, which I hope all of you attend, on the passenger experience and how she designed this whole experience. This was a 2-seater prototype vehicle. It demonstrated many of the Hyperloop safety critical systems. So the point of this test really was to enable us as a company to deploy a product, which is the Hyperloop product, in a way that was safe and also verified by an independent safety assessor, Certifer, which is very well renowned, based in France. Overall, in the testing program, we took over 4 passengers. Our pod reached speeds of 172 kilometers per hour, and this was all done in a vacuum environment at 100 pascals. So a lot of people always ask me, is a Hyperloop safe? And now I can safely say, no pun intended, I can safely say that it is, because we've been able to demonstrate that.
We're driven to explore, to connect, to innovate, to muster the courage to take a giant leap forward. The time has come to ask ourselves again, What is the future we want to build?
All right, team, please confirm you're ready.
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 Capcom, you are a go for launch countdown.
Pegasus, this is Capcom. Prepare for launch in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Today, the first people traveled safely on a Hyperloop. Tomorrow, Virgin Hyperloop will change the way the world moves with an on-demand, sustainable mass transportation system that connects cities in minutes. The future of Hyperloop travel is real, and the moment is now.
That was such an exciting day for us. November 8th of 2020, I was actually there at the test site, and I remember being with Josh's wife and his son, and his wife was so worried, because this was the first time anybody had ever been in a Hyperloop. And to see that done safely, effectively, it was just an incredible experience. So I hope all of you guys will have the chance to come visit us in Los Angeles or in Las Vegas to see that in person. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to rush quickly through my last few slides to respect other people's times. I want to kind of end with a couple of challenges and questions that I want to pose to the audience as you guys are here today. I'm sure you're all here because you are interested in Hyperloop and want to know what is the future for Hyperloop. I want to talk a little bit about what I see are the challenges, and I hope we can all kind of spend the rest of today discussing how we can overcome this and how we can move the industry forward. Although we know that there are very clear benefits in this technology, there are definitely challenges. And some of the key issues that I see based on what I've heard from talking to stakeholders around the world are these. First, it's understanding how Hyperloop fits into today's transportation planning initiatives. We want Hyperloop to be more than a really, really cool new technology. We want Hyperloop to actually address today's problems, societal problems, and also transportation and accessibility problems. So understanding how Hyperloop fits into the broader transportation plans of nations, of cities, of regions, of supply chains and logistics change, and into the fabric of today's developed environment is extremely important. And I don't think a lot of people really recognize that. And I think there's a lot more work that we as Hyperloop developers and also as a broader industry need to do in order to make people understand the value of what this new technology can bring. Second, agreement on common safety approaches and regulatory clarity. This is something that we have really been pushing for as an industry. We know that this new mode of transportation will not get anywhere without having a common safety approach and also a common approach on regulations. And we hope that, by working with here and others at DG Move and at the U.S. Department of Transportation and others places around the world, we can get to that clarity. And then finally, developing a compelling user experience for passengers or cargo handlers. This is something that we take very, very seriously. We know that it's not enough for Hyperloop to, again, just to be a cool technology. It needs to be something that people actually want, that passengers and also cargo handlers also want if they're moving cargo through our system. And without it, we just become, another cool gadget. So this is extremely important to us. We believe that we really need to develop a very compelling user experience. And actually, my colleague Sarah just walked in, and she will be talking a little bit about that in her masterclass on the passenger side. So I'm really excited to be here. We are here because we believe in Hyperloop. We believe in this industry. We also believe in working with all of you as partners and operators, in suppliers, et cetera. And so we want to be here and usher in a new era of mobility together. We believe that this next decade is the decade of Hyperloop, and we're so excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much for giving this nice overview about the exciting developments of Virgin Hyperloop.